In the gaming community, there's been some iconic moments over the years from gaming cheaters. Iconic ones that come to mind, like Cody Miller's GDQ run.
I forgot how to do this part.
That guy pretending to beat Mario 64 blindfolded. Dream in Minecraft, Dr. Disrespect and his wife.
I've been unfaithful.
But as it turns out, while there are these higher profile cases, there are a lot of other instances of cheaters who have gotten caught in various different ways and at different levels and different scales across all of gaming. Especially with the rise of speedrunning in one side of things and competitive multiplayer games on the other side of things, it's not hard to find leagues that have been affected by cheaters. Like for instance, let's talk about this oldie from Call of Duty 4 back in 2007. It's not an instance of blatant cheating like having mods in your Call of Duty lobby or using a modified controller or anything like that, but back in the early days of first-person shooter esports, Call of Duty 4 had a pretty big competitive scene with game battles and even ESL hosting events. But all the way back in 2007, one team known as Fat Games ended up drafting Tom Diablo Newman, who was a pretty solid Call of Duty player. However, ESL actually had rules that you can't just like draft a new player and throw them right into an event. So Diablo wasn't eligible to compete. So Fat Games ended up coming up with a little workaround that ended up getting the team suspended for 6 months. Essentially, since it was a digital event, the Fat Games team just gave Diablo the login credentials for one of their other team players, Stat, which would allow Diablo to play under the tournament. He just had to pretend to be Stat. I guess some people started to scrutinize this a bit though when Diablo was playing at such a different level from Stat, making things seem clearly different, which led ESL to launch an investigation. There was like an IP check which confirmed that there was an identity switch, and ultimately Diablo was suspended from ESL for 6 months. This sounds pretty tame to some of the other cheating instances we're going to get into, but this was a really big deal back in the day because it did start to question how a lot of these rules would be enforced. And I guess this team found out the hard way. There's a wild story involving Halo 5 Guardians, and that game already had its own issues just not being stable when it came out, making tournaments difficult whenever things would just like crash or not work correctly. But on top of that, sometimes people would influence the games in a way that they weren't supposed to, and this was actually what happened in an interesting free-for-all event that was pretty low stakes. It was a $300 prize pool, which, I mean, yeah, $300 is pretty nice, but during a free-for-all finals match, some people noticed one player, Rhino, was not doing well. Like, he was doing really, really bad, which quickly led to speculation that Rhino had been intentionally feeding kills to other players in the game, potentially. Matter of fact, as these accusations started to gain more traction, Rhino took to Twitter and openly admitted that he was doing so poorly in the event that he just wanted to throw a little bit, and he ended up feeding 3 kills to one of his friends who was also competing in the free-for-all event. At first, he seemed to kind of defend his actions, insinuating that it wasn't that big of a deal, but as more conversation around the issue started to make its way through the competitive Halo scene at the time, it became apparent that this was essentially collusion as it was impacting the fairness of the game itself. This resulted in the league that was hosting it, Beyond, to make a statement on their own forums. Rhino would end up getting banned for 1 month, and the free-for-all finals would be replayed with all of the original players minus Rhino. I think the severity of what actually happened would finally become apparent to Rhino as he would make a post apologizing for letting other people down, his fans down, and also his team that had drafted him. But this did also open up the door for conversation as to how certain leagues handle banning and enforcing certain rules, because in a free-for-all setting it is very hard to clearly tell when someone is intentionally feeding kills to other players, unless they tweet about it and directly admitting to it. Now on the surface, this one might not look like something that naturally would fall under the classification of cheating, but when you look at the bigger picture, it does become clear that this definitely is kind of cheating in a way. Nonetheless, this is kind of a cautionary tale from back in 2017 not too many people really talk about, because nowadays there's like real bad cheating instances and some really crazy stuff.
Remember back in the day when you would have friends over and you would play local split-screen multiplayer against each other, and then, you'd be doing really good and your friends would start accusing you of screen peeking? Well, in 2012, during the League of Legends World Championship playoffs, there was a case of screen peeking, but at a very high-profile level. Now, before I can explain the way they cheated, I need you to understand that in League of Legends, the minimap is an essential part of the game. And the way the minimap works is you are only able to see part of the map. It's the part that your team members are in. There's other ways to get vision of the map, but that's too complicated to explain now. But generally, you're only able to see a limited part of the map on your minimap. And the minimap is so important that pro players look at it every couple seconds to gain as much information as they can on the current state of the game. But if you're in the crowd for these esports events, usually you can see both sides of the minimap at the same time. Whether you are watching it on a live stream on Twitch or you're watching it in person at the event. Now at this specific event, the viewer screens were set up right behind the pro players. And if the pro players turned around, they were actually able to see this uncovered minimap and gain all the information on the enemy team that they needed. Which almost all of the teams did not exploit, but Azubo Frost, when they played against Team Solo Mid, were caught turning around and looking at this minimap. And Riot would actually investigate this some more and found out the specific spots where they used this information to gain an advantage, and they would end up finding the organization $30,000. I think this is a very interesting case of cheating, because on one hand, if you take advantage of screens you're not supposed to look at to gain information and an advantage, you're obviously not playing within the rules of competitive integrity. But on the other hand, also, why did Riot put up these screens right behind the pro players for them to look at? I think they're also equally at fault for just giving the pro players easy access. And there was actually a couple other incidences of players turning around and it being questionable, but most of them didn't matter because the games were restarted anyways, and that's why Azubo Frost was the only team fined, because they did actually gain an advantage from it. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like there's two parties to blame here.
H1Z1 is a game that not too many people think about anymore, may it rest in peace, but what a wild experience that game ended up being. But there is an interesting story from back when the game was relevant, before the license and ownership of the game was moved around a bunch of times. This one's kind of a weird win, because a lot of the times when a game doesn't have an anti-cheat system built into it, great games that like blow up overnight can often get destroyed from the inside out when there's a bunch of cheaters in it. And back in the day, one of the H1Z1 developers was actually watching a game in real time, and obviously since he's a developer, he has like access to administrative controls in the game, and he was watching someone who was suspected of cheating, and he was pretty sure the guy was already cheating, but he wanted to make sure and see if they were aimbotting and how that was playing out. But bro was taking forever to find someone to shoot. So the developer literally just spawns a car in for the cheater. The cheater didn't notice that the car had just spawned in. He runs over, he gets in the car, he drives, and finally does find another player. But I just love the attitude of the developer Carto here.
There. For the love of God, dude, find the car and just like go drive and get somebody. Oh look, a car! Where'd that come from? There's a dude right there. If you're gonna aimbot, just aimbot and get it over with, for the love of God. All that. At least we got him, chat. At least we got him.
I think there also was this whole arc associated with H1Z1 where after people got banned, they kind of made a post insinuating that if you made an apology video, you could maybe get your account unbanned. This led to a couple of people actually making interesting videos apologizing for cheating on YouTube, which is kind of hilarious in its own right. And I don't even think those people ever actually got their accounts back either. It was just kind of a clever troll. Now, a bunch of other people also ended up making like parody videos of those real apology videos. So it's sometimes hard to discern nowadays, all these years later, which was real and which were fake. But nonetheless, a really interesting trend that kind of stemmed out of cheaters in H1Z1.
I vow you that I will never cheat again in this game. Was such a fool to do it in the past, and I surely will never make that mistake again.
In the early days of Counter-Strike Global Offensive coming out, there was a few pro players getting banned for cheating, but none was as infamous as the French pro player Cody, who played for Titan at the time. He was on a team alongside the players Maniac, Apex, Existence, and Kenny S, who's one of the greatest pro players of all time in the Counter-Strike scene. Now, before joining Titan in summer of 2014, Cody and his previous team would actually win DreamHack Valencia 2014 and place third at ESL 1 Cologne 2014. So this is a player that, you know, placed very high on some of the biggest Counter-Strike tournaments at the time. And because of that, in September, he was able to join Titan. And the team would start setting their eyes on DreamHack Winter 2014, which was the next big tournament coming up at the time. And this team definitely was stacked, and they were one of the top teams of the year. But everything changed in 2014 when Cody would receive a VAC ban for cheating. He was immediately suspended from his team and went on to make a statement on Facebook which read, "As you saw yesterday, I was banned by VAC and unfortunately, it was justified. I want to say I'm really sorry to all the people who supported me. I am aware that with this my career is now over and my team is in a very bad position. They did not deserve that. He then also goes on to talk about how, you know, this hacker convinced him all the pro players were doing it and he only used it for 7 days. You know, just the standard stuff that a lot of cheaters that get caught just start yapping about, how they didn't mean to do it and blah blah blah. And after that, immediately all the highlights he had hit over the years were called into question. And the most notorious one that I remember was this clip that he hit against Virtus Bro in a 14-15 match point round, where he comes up from CT spawn, jumps up to look onto A side and just headshots this guy, which then would win them the game. Now, we never found out 100% which moments he was actually cheating in, and we probably never will, but it's fair to say that, you know, a lot of people just don't believe he was skilled at all anymore and, you know, just a dirty old cheater. Now, while he obviously deserved his vacation and the suspension from Titan, what was unfortunate is that Titan as a whole was disqualified from DreamHack Winter 2014, alongside another team that actually had a pro player caught cheating that was also suspended. And that's kind of how Cooley's career phased out and ended. I don't really feel bad for the guy, because even if he only cheated for 7 days and he was only testing the cheats, it is pretty stupid to even attempt that as a Counter-Strike professional. And it is within human nature to only be sorry after you get caught, I guess. Also, after Titan got disqualified from DreamHack Winter 2014, they never really recovered as an organization, and they lost a bunch of sponsors for the next year, and in 2016 they would actually end up shutting down. Their legacy though is that they have a very famous ESL Katowice 2014 sticker that is worth quite a bit of real life money and actually very rare. And that's kind of the legacy that Titan has after being brought down by one of their pro players cheating. There also was another incident in Counter-Strike in 2018 when the Indian pro player Forsaken was caught cheating live on stage. You can see in the video how the judge is like looking at his computer and he's trying to delete something and the judge stops him. Following this, the guy received a 5-year ban from all events and obviously was dropped by his team, and also went on to retire, so it's very unlikely he'll ever come back.
Now, a lot of you probably already have watched Carl Jobst. He's kind of a national treasure in the speedrunning community, making all sorts of great content. And while a lot of times many of Carl's videos are diving into scandals of cheating that are currently happening or that are relatively new, every once in a while he'll dive back into an older story, and earlier this year he looked into a topic that completely surprised me. And we're talking about the Syndicate faked Black Ops Zombies world record. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this out here. Most people watching this video probably don't remember back in the day when Black Ops 1 first released. Syndicate was releasing his Zombies video series where he would just play at a skill level unlike anything that most people were capable of. When Black Ops first came out, Zombies was hard. We didn't know all the nuanced strats, and I remember watching Syndicate and learning that like training zombies was a thing. What?
I was a huge Call of Duty World at War Zombies fan, but back in my day, when you're playing zombies, you would find a corner with your team, stay in that corner, and stick it out to the end.
This strategy alone was groundbreaking, so it showed that Syndicate was like operating on another level. But also, back in the day, Syndicate had this ongoing series where he was trying to make it well beyond level 100 in Zombies, which was a crazy goal in itself, but hey, if anyone could do it, this guy would. And he released like a multiple part series where eventually he climbs his way up and pulls it off, actually making it that far.
Oh! Yes! Oh! Here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Now, Syndicate really gained a lot of popularity back when Call of Duty Black Ops released, and this was like a series he did. But he would see another major boost in popularity a couple of years later when he rode the whole like Minecraft popularity run. Like, Syndicate definitely became extra famous for his like Minecraft series, capitalizing in that first like Minecraft boom of like 2012, 2013. However, lo and behold, people in the Call of Duty Zombies community have been speculating ever since that video series released that maybe there was something weird in Syndicate's Zombies run, and since it wasn't like a straight VOD, you only had these series of videos to be able to dissect and look through to try to gain enough evidence to prove that they aren't real. Carl Jobst has a great video detailing the evidence that was stacked against him and the inconsistencies that lead many now to believe that the Zombies video was faked. And here's the thing. Now, allegedly, halfway through, the game crashed and Syndicate decided to like bring himself back up to that level and continue on by modding his game. Okay, sketchy sketchy, sus, whatever. Years later, when that became uncovered, he should have just come clean about it blatantly and easily. But I think the real reason he never really wanted attention on it was that that series was so pivotal in his initial growth. And I think admitting to that would also, well, inevitably be him admitting to cheating, which is what he was doing. And maybe it wasn't just a single crash, but a much more intentional misdirection than whatever he had led on in the past. What's even weirder is that nowadays Syndicate doesn't really address the controversy. He did do a 10-year anniversary zombies gameplay celebrating 10 years since he did his 100+ run, which also, I mean, come on, dude, you were already having people accuse you from back then. Kind of weird to try to like bring it back up and act like it's not a big topic. But also, I don't know if Pro Syndicate necessarily has the best like track record with some things. I just think to the CSGO Lotto controversy a few years back. I don't know how I feel about this one. On one hand, it's something that happened so long ago that's like, okay, it's just like something that happened, right? You come clean, you admit it, you move on. There's a lot of people in the speedrunning community who, when they were younger, cheated something or, you know, whatever. They told their story, they came clean about it and moved on, grew from it. But then it's another thing when, like, you refuse to acknowledge it, avoid it, do an anniversary event of it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong with this. Maybe I'm too cynical, and if I am, you can let me know. But yeah, I don't know how to feel about this one.
Let's play a quick game of were they actually cheating the whole time?
Back in 2020, during a Rainbow Six scrim match, a smaller streamer by the name of Franco R6 was accused of potentially cheating on a game on Canal. During the stream, it looks like you can see some boxes here, and his reaction to potentially exposing himself as a cheater is pretty entertaining to watch.
What?
There you go, that's him.
What?
Pick me up,
Back in 2022, the Twitter account Cod in 4K posted a stream VOD from a streamer named the Austin US, accusing him of using walls and maybe other cheats. We're gonna go ahead and just play this out, and you can tell us if you think that he was cheating. After this tweet went out, the VODs were deleted, and eventually the entire Twitch account would be deleted as well. There's this infamous clip of a Valorant player, Celista, getting banned on stream, and this person was already like a little bit sus because people were paying attention to the gameplay. He would like wiggle his mouse around and wouldn't shoot when he was getting some crazy kills. He later would update his Twitter bio to claim that he uses the spacebar to shoot, like he had remapped it to the spacebar, which is wild gameplay in itself, but I don't know. Do you guys think he was cheating? Do you think Valorant was right to ban him? And then some of you might remember back to a little bit of a more controversial issue. In 2021, the community manager for G Fuel and a Twitch partner known as Cursed was essentially accused of scripting or using scripts, which are basic cheats that essentially adjust things like recoil and are definitely against the rules so that he could perform better in games like Rust. And he denied using scripts, even though a lot of people were very, very suspicious of this. However, eventually, after enough questionable clips started to be gathered, he was pretty much caught cheating live on Rust, and he would eventually move forward and confess to the fact that he was cheating. Now, there's this thing where like sometimes cheaters downplay how much they were cheating, where they say that they only had just tried out cheats for the first time. Not sure if I buy that, but what do you guys think? Are these clips as questionable as they may seem? There's a little bit of a longer dive into this by YouTuber Bryce Bread that might be worth checking out. This next one comes out of Apex Legends, and it actually is a very recent one, only happening earlier on in 2024. And it's actually one of the weirdest cases of accidental cheating. I mean, does this even count as accidental cheating? Compromised cheating? Let's back up a little bit. So back at the North American ALGS regional finals for Apex Legends, there was some sort of hacking incident that allowed for a cheater with the name Destroyer to compromise the account of the players who were playing in the majors. It almost seemed like a fully random event, but during the third game of the day, a player known as Jen Burton was the target of one of the first hacking attacks. His account was randomly compromised, and all of a sudden he could see enemies through walls and had no control over his actual aim. The cheater was even like spamming stuff in the text released. The stuff was pretty crazy here, and I'll be honest, an onlooker might look at this and be like, oh, the dude just had his cheats revealed and accidentally streamed it, as we've seen stuff like this happen in the past, and he got caught, and then he's like reacting like he's getting hacked. And while I think that could have been a fair assessment for a casual onlooker, in Game 4, another player, Imperial Hall, ended up becoming a victim of a similar situation where his game was hijacked, but this time was given an aimbot.
Yeah, shoot now. I'm cheating. I'm fucking shit. I got aimbot. I have aimbot.
This match ended up getting abandoned and an investigation was launched. And as it turned out, there was a crazy kill during that third game when the account got hijacked that later would surface, which, yeah, showed that this whole thing was just messed up. I mean, cheating aside, it is kind of funny, though, that this player got arrowed from completely across the map when the other player wasn't even looking at him. And, I mean, I'm glad they were able to figure out that there was something weird going on. I mean, how does someone compromise an account in the middle of an event here? So with this situation in mind, ALGS ended up issuing a statement and announced that they were suspending the regional finals because of this hacking event, and it looked like things would be rescheduled for later on. This was a pretty unprecedented attack at an event, like this hasn't happened before, but it did bring up a lot of fair conversations about the state of Apex Legends and cheaters. I mean, cheaters aren't just cheating to win their own games now, but now they have access potentially to compromising other players' in-game sessions. That's actually insane. After this event happened, Easy Anti-Cheat, which handles the anti-cheat for Apex Legends specifically, issued a statement saying that they were confident that there were no vulnerabilities in their system and that something else must have been the main exploit causing all of this. This next part is a little bit harder to fully understand, but after this whole incident went down, a lot of people kind of investigated stuff on Twitter looking into potential issues with Easy Anti-Cheat, where some people think that Easy Anti-Cheat was just trying to like cover up the fact that they may have a vulnerability, because they do have a very large customer base of a ton of games, like a long list of games that use Easy Anti-Cheat as their main anti-cheat system. And if it straight up is not catching people compromising other accounts, then something is kind of maybe really awry here. I mean, let's be real, a lot of the times anti-cheat systems don't work, and a lot of players do get through who are playing not legitimately. I mean, look at Halo Master Chief Collection, for example, which uses Easy Anti-Cheat. There was that whole issue from a while back where players were going in, changing their names to appear as other usernames. Then they would cheat in-game and then get a ban, but the ban would be applied to the person who had the original username. Awesome. I guess this is a weird instance where the cheater, in this case, or the hacker, hasn't been caught, but the players that ended up accidentally cheating were open to getting caught. I mean, they weren't trying to hide it. They were just trying to compete legitimately. But a crazy story nonetheless.
If you slipped out of your mom prior to 2017, you might know this clip.
Wait, what the Clara, hold on. Clara, give me 1 second. Let me just message this girl. Give me 1 second. Why the is this on my computer right now?
And well, this is the iconic Clara clip, and to break down real quick what's happening here, she's at the beginning of a CSGO game on Inferno, and you can see her opening the cheat menu and she turns on wall hacks. Then she plays the first round, not realizing she just exposed herself, but even with wall hacks she sucks, and it just makes me question why she doesn't turn on aimbot. I mean, she's already cheating, might as well. And then at the beginning of the second round she opens her scoreboard and you can see all the ranks of all the players. Usually you're only able to see your rank and your friend's rank, so she makes the excuse that this is some glitch that's happened to her and her friends a lot, before eventually leaving the match and then blaming Clara and talking about how she's gonna text her friend Clara, and Clara played on her computer, and Clara installed all these cheats, and Clara murdered her family. It is pretty funny that it takes her like over 2 minutes to realize she just exposed herself. And in German we have this word Schadenfreude, which means pleasure derived from someone else's misfortune. And this clip kind of fills me with that, I don't know why. Nonetheless, there's a video of her immediately trading away all her skins, and she had some knives, I think, and stuff like that, so she did have some valuable stuff, and she just puts it on alt because she knows that vacation is coming. Now allegedly she got vac banned, and I couldn't find her profile, so I couldn't verify it, but that's what like news outlets say. And they also claim her Twitch was suspended for 24 hours. So these two things and the clip going viral were kind of the immediate fallout of the situation, but I always wondered what happened to her. Did she quit streaming? Did she continue? What is she up to nowadays? Well, as it turns out, she changed her name and she streamed for another 2 years, it looks like, where she would play Apex and stuff, but then eventually she would stop streaming, and she has a YouTube channel that's very small, where she uploaded a month ago some random Sims gameplay, but to be honest, I don't think she has a very big online presence anymore. And I mean, I don't know how she would have continued from this, because I feel like every time you play multiplayer games in the future after you got exposed to cheating once, everybody's gonna assume you're cheating anyways, and you'll never beat those allegations even if you stop cheating, because once a cheater, always a cheater, I guess. At the end of the day though, this is an iconic clip, and if there's ever a Gaming Clips Hall of Fame, this one should have its own like wall, and we have to thank Clara for that.
I think it's time we talk about the Pichu Gate scandal of 2016. Now, YouTuber Lil Homie already has a really good 22-minute long documentary detailing this in depth, so if you like Smash Bros. Melee, check that video out because it goes way further in depth. But the general idea of this is that back in 2016, there was this scandal where an up-and-coming player named Chaos was making waves because he mained Pichu of all characters, a character that typically wasn't associated with being a very good character from the Super Smash Bros. Melee roster. Chaos started playing back in 2014, and with Pichu having the reputation of possibly being the third worst character in the game, it was cool to see a player committed to this character and trying to get extensively good at the character, kind of as like a little signature to show that, you know, it's a little secret, underhanded character that someone with the right skill could master this character and beat all of the best players. Pichu's already like a really lightweighted character, it doesn't have good range and it takes self-damage when it uses electric attacks, but Chaos's dedication kind of paid off. He started seeding low in tournaments originally, but his skill would like improve substantially. Chaos really started to gain attention when at an event known as the ARG2 tournament in Ohio, Chaos, who was seeded at 10th at the time, started winning games against highly seeded players that had pretty established and well-known track records of being pretty impressive at the game. It was actually kind of interesting because Chaos's performance as Pichu was very out of the norm for that character. I mean, Pichu already has a lot of disadvantages, but then he was even paired up against a Jigglypuff at one point, and Jigglypuff is known for having a strong aerial game, and Pichu still overcame. And as he continued to win against these players that have been well known for a long time, some people started to wonder if maybe things were amiss. Like, who is this guy coming out of nowhere playing Pichu of all characters? This is where things get actually wild. So during another Smash event called Melee Fest, other players decided to copy the SD card that was on the Wii that was playing Smash Bros. Melee and swap it back into the Wii before Chaos would notice, and the information found on the SD card ended up being really damning. As it turns out, Chaos, who was one of the volunteers to bring his own setup so that people could participate in the event, as they need a lot of GameCubes or Wiis to host on in big tournaments like this, he created a modded version of Pichu in his game. He essentially hacked Pichu and replaced Pichu with a Super Pichu that had extended hitboxes, would have up air animations giving him invincibility, his weight was altered, and his attacks were just like generally stronger. Ultimately, this discovery ended up getting documented, and a big post expose was made by Dan Salvato, who was the creator of the 20XX Tournament Edition, and this ended up resulting in Chaos getting banned from competitive play. He was required to return all of his tournament winnings obtained through the use of the cheat, and ended up going down as one of the biggest scandals in Super Smash Bros. Melee history.
Just so you guys know, in this next part, Elijah mispronounces the cheater's name like 3 times, but I think the guy deserves no respect, so we're gonna keep it.
Now, last year, someone in the Pokemon community was exposed for cheating in the speedrunning side of things, and Abysssoft has a great video breaking this one down, but to summarize it, things really got heated when a speedrunner known as Jiwi set a remarkable world record in Pokemon Diamond and Pearl any percent manipulation category. His run featured a under 1 hour time, which was pretty unprecedented. However, some inconsistencies in his run led to some suspicion, like just weird things where an experienced runner would know exactly how much damage could affect a certain outcome, and just the way that a real runner would react to different battling scenarios was not the way that Jiwi played. This led to some people to start looking into runs directly from Jiwi, and a user known as Minnow ended up analyzing the RNG seed for Jiwi's run and found that the chimchar that was used didn't match any of the possible RNG seeds that could possibly come when you're starting up a game of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, which would suggest maybe the run was spliced. There's a whole hexadecimal system in the background that works for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl that connects back to the trainer ID, and there was more inconsistencies there, which added up more evidence that wasn't right. And on top of that, the runner, Jiwi, was kind of acting a little bit strange. Like, he pre-announced that he was aiming to try to get the under 1 hour time before he did it. He had organized these races where he would show off his runs, and during the races, he was potentially getting these like crazy times, which was like, yo, what are the odds of that happening? This followed up by like weird evidence. For instance, he said like he didn't have the capability to record locally because of PC limitations, but then like his skills with editing seemed to kind of like contradict some things. He definitely made some sus statements that were contradictory or suspicious at the least. And then of course, right when the investigation is really starting to pick up and, you know, the evidence is stacking up, Jiwi announces his retirement from speedrunning. Interesting. But at the time, he didn't know that he was being investigated yet. It's almost like he had, you know, realized maybe he had already been flying a little too close to the sun. Nonetheless, Jiwi ended up getting banned once it came to light that he was allegedly cheating. And later on, after Jiwi got banned from the speedrunning community, he admitted to cheating multiple runs, and he confessed to a lot, like using save states to splice his runs together, including runs that he did in Pokemon Sapphire, Pokemon Red Glitchless. And his motive was he just wanted to achieve records that hadn't been done before, but, you know, illegitimately. It was a pretty funny arc where he did try to cover his tracks when the investigation first was really starting to pick up, and it just kind of fell apart and imploded on him. But yeah, bro, why are you cheating in a Pokemon speedrunning community? Okay, so now, obviously, everyone at some point has probably heard about like the Dream controversy, the Minecraft speedrunner originally who was accused of cheating. I never really cared or followed too much originally when the drama happened, but I know, Luke, you are a big Minecraft fan.
Indeed I am. I used to be a Minecraft YouTuber when I was 14, 15. So, you know, I have Minecraft in my blood. I don't even know why I brought that up. Nonetheless.
That's great.
I know you don't know much about Minecraft, but basically Dream was allegedly cheating, was accused of cheating, and increasing the item drop rate during his speedruns, which significantly increased his time, right? Because he's just able to get to the end faster. It's like the ender pearls and the place rods you need to get to the end, like to fight the dragon. And that's how you end the speed. I don't know, you've probably seen a Minecraft speedrun, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a little bit of it.
And that's just like the thing. And it was on the version 1.16, right? Specifically.
So then what was the whole controversy? Did he say he didn't cheat?
Yes, he denied it for a while. But I mean, the drop rate was obviously fake. And there was something like where like the chances of him getting this drop rate were like 1 in 177 billion or something. So like insanely small odds of him getting this run. And then eventually he came out and he admitted that he accidentally had a mod on from one of his video series he did that would increase the drop chance of these specific items.
So in your opinion, do you think it was in fact an accident, or do you think he was cheating?
I don't know. If I have mods on my game, I know what mods I have on my game. I you know what I mean? And then I don't try to submit. Like if we play like, I don't know, it's like us playing Halo 3 ODST and like accidentally having like some anime mod on, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's just like, I don't know, it's just accidentally, why you submit it? And I mean, obviously, after that, like he said that he cheated, he admitted to it. I mean, he really didn't. I mean, he said it like really vaguely. He said something like, I tracked the mods on speedrun.com through the mod, even though they were mostly right. So like he didn't even fully admit to it either, you know what I mean? But like, he did cheat.
That is interesting.
The fallout of it was like he got all his other records taken down. He's banned from speedrun.com.
But the speedrun stuff kind of like catapulted his career in a way, right? That like made him more relevant in the Minecraft community?
No, he was like, I think he was most famous for just being good at Minecraft. And that's more like from the survival aspect and like being quick at things, which I guess that part he didn't cheat.
Honestly, I only know like 2 things about Dream. One was that like he might have cheated a speedrun. I mean, now I know that he probably did. And then 2 is like he's that guy who did like after he got like real famous and did the face reveal, he did that live performance. Did you ever see that?
No.
And I think that the live performance is probably more offensive than anything that he could have cheated on to like upset the community.
What did he do during the live performance?
We'll play it. Let's find it real quick and we'll play it.
It's like singing?
Yeah, he's on stage. Like he's not a singer or anything, right? Like
I mean,
But
I'm
he's-
not a singer, and I would be on stage singing too, to be fair. Like, if someone invited me, I'd
Hold on.
do a little show
Send me
tune.
to-
You know, they used to call me a triple threat. Dancing,
they do.
singing, and acrobatics.
Acrobatics.
Wait, are we watching this together, or are we just scrubbing it?
I'm paused at 7 minutes.
I don't think he's even singing.
Yeah, first of all, I don't think he's even singing, and why is the audio so blown out? And also, why does this whole thing sound like it's a Roblox song? Am I in an obby lobby?
It might be a Roblox song. Oh, dude, he puts his mask on at 15 minutes.
Oh my god, did someone like in the audience faint when he did that? Ooh,
I just
cringe, dude.
knowing nothing about Dream and then just going from he might have cheated in a speedrun to this. It is a jump. It is very interesting to say the least.
But also, there's another part to the speedrunning cheater thing that is also pretty interesting. It's like a plot twist, right? Elijah, can you stop falling in love with Dream and like listen to me?
Hold on. I need to send you this.
We got dreamy eyes, dude.
And dude, I just saw something just weird.
I can't breathe when you're not there. Wait, your turn. Wait.
Oh.
3, 2, 1.
What are your thoughts?
You know, I can't breathe when you're not there.
Dude, you're triple threat. Now do a backflip.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead. Go
There's
ahead.
another plot twist to this stream Minecraft cheating scandal, right? Of
Okay.
2021, I think it was. The top speedrunner called Minecravenger was the guy that pushed all these allegations and like, you know, exposed him kind of with the drop rates and like did all the math and stuff, right? Now that guy later on was also exposed for increasing his drop rates in a bunch of his run and was also permabanned from speedrun.com.
Interesting.
Yeah, Minecraft I feel like is a game that's probably really easy to cheat. I mean, not for like a casual like us, but like people who are really good at speedrunning already. I feel like there's so many like moving parts of Minecraft that it's easy to go unnoticed if it's like a very obscure little thing like a drop chance.
There's so many like small RNG parables in these Minecraft speedruns that it's like you can modify one and someone might not notice.
Especially like if you're playing like the top 200 or something in Minecraft. I mean, like who's gonna look at like, oh, this new number 197 ranked run? You know, it's like who's gonna like check that? That's wild. Do we talk about Billy Mitchell and risk our channel getting sued?
Allegedly, Billy Mitchell.
Lawsuits pending.
be,
Lawsuits pending. We have to say that.
Yeah, there are some lawsuits of Billy Mitchell suing people. So allegedly, Billy Mitchell years ago have been accused of cheating. Everybody knows most of the story of Billy Mitchell. If you're following like cheating in video games, Billy Mitchell's story is like the number one, like most talked about journey. So I don't know how much we really need to dive into it. A lot of interesting twists and turns. I really appreciate like Carl Jobs, his whole video series where he like covers it. Carl Jobs, I said like Jaws.
Call jobs. You work at Apple?
Nonetheless, I do think that whole journey has been interesting. The whole instance with like that one photograph that has the stick that is different from what a default Donkey Kong stick should be. And I just wonder like how many like world records from back in the day were faked before like there was like the internet to like proof things.
That is
You know,
true.
Like even the Guinness Book of World Records, you know, we even with like the whole Cody Miller thing, right? If you guys don't know who Cody Miller was, he was a Halo speedrunner back in the day, got away with some world records from splicing stuff, and then he was invited to GDQ. It was apparent his knowledge and skill didn't line up to some of the runs that he had. Something that happened like 12 years ago, but you do wonder, like, some people probably took advantage of like there not being as much of a burden of proof in those earlier years. Of course, it's not the best thing to lie on the internet, but like I don't know if like I really can fault too many people for just being like, oh, I can just easily do this and trick a bunch of people into thinking something.
I think there's a difference between like you doing it as like a kid or like maybe like, you know, as an adult that hasn't fully grown up yet versus doing it and making a career out of it and being like the top video game guy for 40 years, you know what I mean?
Like Billy Mitchell.
Right. I think there's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
And that's why I guess all these lawsuits are going on because his career is on the line. And I mean, that's why he's trying to defend it so aggressively.
Right.
Which I can see from his perspective, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. Like these cheating allegations, they're as old.
Perspective, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was generally believed he cheated.
Right.
But, you know, I don't want to get sued.
Allegedly cheated.
Yeah.
We so badly thought this video would be 10 times better if it was guest hosted by Cody Miller. Like he voiced some of the stuff. I couldn't get him on. I did get in contact with him, but he's polite. He's always nice when he talks to us, even though we did a whole video on him. But yeah, he wasn't. I don't think he wanted to come on. But wouldn't that have been crazy? Like this video featuring Cody Miller.
Podcast section with Cody Miller. That would have been insane. Yeah.
The thing is, I genuinely think, besides all the cheating stuff that happened, Cody Miller was at one point a decent speedrunner, right? And maybe he was like really washed later on. And I mean, yeah, he cheated, but he also was passionate about Halo. Like he liked Halo, at least for a while back in the day. And I think we've seen other communities that have had speedrunners that have cheated in the past and admitted to it, and then they continue to just do other things in the community. Like, I mean, I don't want to like name drop, but like if you look around, there's a lot of people who are like, sometimes a lot of them become YouTubers and stuff. They just like talk about the game and stuff, and they'll openly talk about like the time that they cheated and like why or what it was or how old they were when they cheated. A lot of times it's like some kid, just memeing, or another time it was to like make a point about the importance of verifying runs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stories out there. So I don't know. Like, I think nowadays, knowing the repercussions, the consequences, the attention that happens, to cheat in like the last 10 years is way worse, I feel like, than someone who might have cheated in like the earlier years of like leaderboards just being like, run by a single admin or something, when the stakes are a lot lower and there wasn't necessarily fame involved. It was like you're trying to get notoriety. You know what I mean? Like nowadays it feels a lot scummier, I think, to cheat than how I look at it if it was someone who did it like 10, 15 years ago.
I mean, I think if someone who's a kid today, or like, not a fully emotionally developed adult, cheats and like he changes and he regrets it, I mean, that's fine. People gotta evolve.
Yeah,
but I mean, yeah, you're definitely right. There's more eyes on speedrunning as a whole nowadays.
There's fame that comes with it now. So like you're defrauding way more people on a much larger scale when you cheat nowadays.
But I mean, I think what Cody Miller did, he was like a stupid kid, and I don't know, he would just want it to be, I mean, I don't know, I guess he also wanted to be, he did it for the fame or the notoriety, I guess. It's not like he did it for some crazy prize money.
Well, yeah, it was like $200.
Right.
And some people, I noticed like some people talking about this because the Moist Critical video that went out talking about Cody Miller recently. And Cody Miller and I actually talked about this briefly in an email. But back in the earlier days of GDQ, not everybody applied to get in. He was invited to come and run. And Halo, we talked about this in the video, but Halo wasn't on the original agenda. But they knew that he had speedrun Halo, so they're like, do you want to just come on and do it, right? So they weren't expecting like a world record run. But it went really bad, obviously. It sounds like I'm like defending cheating. I'm not at all. Or I'm not defending any of this that happened. But I think the greater context makes the story more interesting. But even with all of that, right? The run that went way, way over, they invited him back the next year to do Halo Reach. Which goofy. But yeah. I think the story itself, hilarious. It's fun to look back. It's fun to like joke and laugh at it. I think 99% of people who know the Cody Miller story feel that way. Sometimes there's that like 1% though, people who are still outraged over it as if it's something that literally happened yesterday. And I think that's kind of funny.
Obviously, any of these people we've mentioned should not receive any harassment from, people online. I don't know. Because, I mean, like, they got the justice most of the time, right? They got banned on the game, or their Twitch, their careers got ruined.
I wouldn't see Cody Miller at a party and be like, we got to get out of here. Cody Miller's here. These people hang out with Cody Miller.
He's definitely not on my on-site list like some other people.
Fraudsters. What is your on-site list?
Yeah, I cannot say. I will be in big trouble.
What, like where you'll fight people if you see them on site?
Yeah.
Okay, so Luke, I have a question for you.
Yeah, hit me.
Have you ever cheated in a video game?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
There was like the server browser on Counter-Strike Source, and there was like anti-cheat disabled servers, and I would just join them with hacks on. Like the understanding was when you joined these servers without anti-cheat on, everybody was cheating.
Oh.
I never cheated in an official setting.
So it was like where you were allowed to cheat.
Yeah, you couldn't get banned for it.
I have 2 instances where I cheated back when I was a youngster. I think one of them was when I was 12. I had an action replay for my Nintendo DS, and I would play competitive Pokemon online. Like you have to like go to like a chat room, get the friend code, add them, and honestly, it was just out of curiosity. I wanted to see if the action replay would work online. I held down the back button, which was a code where you could one-hit KO any Pokemon with the back button. And sure enough, it worked. And that game had voice chat, and I could like hear them on the Scuff DS voice chat being like, what is going on here? Like, you're cheating, man. Dude, I felt so bad. But I didn't stop. I continued to cheat for the rest of that game.
I felt so bad, but I didn't stop.
No. Like, I used like a Meganium, the grass type Pokemon from Gold and Silver, with Surf. I shouldn't have had Surf, but I had it. And then I think I ended up like using Action Replay to load in legal Pokemon so that I could play competitively. And that was something that was kind of a gray area. It is cheating, but it was very, very commonplace. Where like as long as the Pokemon were legal and they were within the same stats of what you could get legitimately, people usually never questioned it. Nobody would say they were doing it, but everyone was doing it. Yeah, there was no way like people were randomly just like leveling up some Pokemon to level 100 in one, a couple of days for their new team. I mean, I was 12, and then I mean, it really does ruin the spirit of the game. Like, what's the point if you can just win? And then I had some people use cheats on me a couple of times. It was just kind of lame. Like, I wasn't like mad, but like, you just kind of think of them as a loser. And then I didn't want to be a loser, so then I didn't cheat either. And then my other cheating story is, once again, another gray area, and we've talked about it before, but it technically is not cheating, but I definitely, in Call of Duty, whenever there was like a glitch to get to like a secret spot out of bounds, like I'm all about that. So some people think that that's cheating. I think if it's in the game, it's allowed, like it's the game's fault for letting it happen, because it's a mechanic. Because like, how do you draw the line? We talked about this in a previous video, but like, how do you draw the line? In the most recent example is something that I will admit to doing in Modern Warfare 3, the newest Call of Duty. It was on the sub base map, and I jumped up onto this like little cable that you can get onto by standing on a shield, and then I ran up the cable, and from the cable you can jump on top of the building, and it gives you this awesome sight. And I was like, I can't believe this is in the game. This is gonna get patched out. So you did it a couple of times, right? When they patched it out, they only blocked off the jump to the building, not the whole trick jump onto the cable. So it's like, they made the decision in the patch that the cable is legal. You can be on the cable, but not the building, right? So it's like, how do you discern? Unless they put the boundaries in themselves, you can't like discern like what is or isn't okay, because technically the cable is a trick jump to get to, but it's not out of bounds or illegal. So I don't know.
I think it's a case of hate the game, not the player.
There's a story from the Black Ops 2 days that we'll put some footage on the screen of here. But competitively in Black Ops 2, there was accusations of players using like a blur effect that's built into the game, where if you stand in certain locations, your vision will become blurred or unblurred based on where the other players are on the map. It was kind of an unspoken rule that in the competitive scene you don't do that. But when a competitive game gets really close and the stakes are higher, sometimes those accusations would pop up from time to time, accusing the other team of doing it. And there are clips out there of players randomly staring at walls in what could be considered those like glitch spots, where you could do the blurring effect, that you could tell where people were on the map, essentially, if you had the right map awareness, right? Like, if my screen is blurry right now, then they're in spawn. Kind of like that. Not an exact example, but it was like that. It became like a really, really hot topic for a while as to whether or not that's cheating or not cheating. Ultimately, I think it's something that's in the game. Activision should have been quicker to patch it if it was an issue, but I can understand like being upset though if you're on the other side, the receiving side of that, after like practicing for everything else, not using that technique.
Right, and I mean, it's not a case of like pro play versus like random online battles, you know what I mean?
Right. And this was pro play though, so
that's what I'm saying. There's like a different expectation of competitive integrity.
Guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you're subscribed, especially if you like these longer videos. It goes a long way. Also check out our Patreon. If you want your name in the video here, you can support us by throwing a few bucks our way. It actually helps us out substantially. You guys don't even realize.
Also, right now, I think till Friday, there's free shipping internationally for GAMERSUPPS. And if you use our code, you get 10% off, and we get a good cut. And also, I think they have a free shaker cup you get with buying a tub right now. So, if you're watching this video on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday,
stock up. Okay, that's it. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.